Hey guys, over the past few years, I have purchased 3 laundromats and I'm currently in the process of purchasing 3 more. In today's video, I want to talk to you and show you how you can own your own laundromat. And we're going to go from easiest method to hardest method. And the hardest method will teach you how to get a laundromat with legitimately no money out of pocket, even without any of your own personal credit. So make sure you watch the whole entire video if you want to learn all the methods of owning a laundromat. Now, the first question I typically get is, Brandon, do I just go on the internet to the laundromat store and buy one? And the answer there pretty emphatically is very rarely do you do that. Now, you can get on realtor.com or BizBuySell. That's probably the #1 website, 10X or LoopNet, and look for a commercial business for sale like a laundromat. Now, you will find a lot of laundromats on there for sale, but the problem is, in a very general sense, almost none of them are profitable. And the reason I say that is because, believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there in the world that watch my videos, as well as Cody Sanchez videos and the other people in the laundromat business. There's a whole bunch of us. And these kinds of videos get the attention of doctors and lawyers and investors and people with millions of dollars to spend. And the vast majority of those people, if not all of them, get on those websites and desire to make a cash offer on these kinds of businesses. Now, the problem is, if you really want to make money off of a laundromat, you can't compete with those guys. I don't want to be crazy here, but you just should not compete with people that have more money to spend than you do. You need to get yourself a deal, and the only way to do that is to get off of the open market. I have a perfect example. I'm wanting to buy a grocery store this year or maybe next year. And when I go look for how will I get the food to this business, I am not going to go down to Walmart and buy all of my food. I'm going to find a farmer or a wholesale group to buy the product off of. If you go on the MLS, LoopNet, or BizBuySell, you are buying from a retail method. You're not going to get a deal. So you have to find a way to acquire laundromat wholesale. Now, how do you do that? And here's where the hard part is. You talk to people who own laundromats. That it sucks, I promise it. You have to find people that own locations that might be good candidates to sell. People that are older, they're getting ready to retire, maybe they're going to move. You need to get in front of the people that actually own and run these businesses and have that conversation. Would you be interested in selling it? If so, I would like to buy it. Because then you're not going through a broker, you're not going through an intermediary, you're talking to the actual decision maker of the business. Now, I'm not telling you to take everything they say as the truth. A lot of these people are on the verge of bankruptcy or they run really crappy business. But you have to talk to the people that are in charge of these locations and not go through intermediaries almost all the time. If you talk to a broker, their goal is to sell you a business. It isn't to sell you a business that makes you a lot of money. It's just to get the business sold. And unfortunately, I've met a lot of brokers that have a propensity to lie to me, overstating the income, overstating how much money they're secretly bringing in cash. And it's a real easy way to go bankrupt in the laundromat business. And you should just not go down this path. I had a really great conversation recently with the VP of lending at Eastern Funding. They're one of the primary sources of money in the laundromat business to get loans. Great company. I'll talk a little more about them later. But as my conversation transpired with them, they told me that the average client of theirs only has a default rate of less than 2%, meaning if you get a loan for a laundromat, there's a 98% chance of success, at least if you follow Eastern Funding's method of getting a laundromat. And they will tell you, don't buy a laundromat that doesn't make a lot of money. Now, if you guys would like help finding and making calls to laundromat owners, seeing if they're interested in selling, I work with a company called Deal Machine. They sell software that actually helps you identify laundromats and car washes and find the owner's contact information. I'll throw a link down in the description of this video. Their software is really good, and I've been using the heck out of it to find deals recently. I convinced them to give away some 7-day free trials for anybody interested. So check them out in the description below. And if you do decide to go and pay for an account with them, I will give you my laundromat boot camp for free, kind of coaching you and training you what to actually say to the laundromat owners when they pick up the phone or they respond to your emails or text messages. Thanks. So now we're going to talk about the easiest way to finance a laundromat, and that's going to be with conventional bank financing. My recommendation is, if you want to go this route, go talk to the 20 closest banks geographically to where you live and ask what kind of loan program they would want to put you through with a laundromat. Some banks are going to have great programs and they will let you acquire a laundromat with only 10 or 20% down, and some of them will let the old owner finance part of the down payment for you. So you might be able to start off with a 20% down loan from a bank at a relatively low interest rate in this environment. Prime is around 7%, so 7% loan would be great. And they might let you acquire for 10% or even 5% down. In this marketplace, we're finding banks that will do that, but the problem is you've got to talk to a lot of them. I run into a lot of people who believe the norm is 20% down to buy a laundromat. And that's not always true, because there's a lot of banks that just hate laundromats. They just hate financing businesses and therefore make it hard. It's one of those dirty secrets that are out there that some banks are just good, or they like to fund certain things and they just don't like funding other things. One of the banks I work with, they're great for car wash loans and laundromat loans, but they don't want to fund apartments. So you're an idiot if you try to push through their program and their process to fund an apartment. Meanwhile, one bank one block away is amazing for apartment complexes. So traditional bank financing can be a great way to get your money for a laundromat, but you need to interview a lot of banks. Don't stop with the first one or two. Put in your work. No one's going to do the laundromat acquisition work for you. I mean, well, if you want to pay me $100,000, I'll go out and find you a laundromat. But still, you need to put some effort in and call banks to get the best rates on financing. The second method, and I love it, is through the Small Business Administration. Now, you might luck out with the prior recommendation, and a local bank in your area does the SBA 7A program. Not all will do that. Here's a great example. I have a student, her name is Chelsea, she lives in Connecticut. She went out and bought her very first laundromat through the SBA's 7A program for only 10% down. Now, it is somewhat harder to get a laundromat to go through the 7A program if it's not profitable. This is just what they do because they don't want you to buy a laundromat and fail. Chelsea's laundromat, which she purchased for $135,000 with $13,500 down, is now making quite a bit more money than my laundromat makes. She sent me a DM on Discord recently and said, "Hey, Brandon, just so you know, we had our first $500 day with only wash, dry, fold." Not the coin operation side where people come in and they wash their clothes themselves. She did $500 in just drop off, and she is just absolutely crushing it, which is scary because she's done it less than I have. But she only did 10% down through the Small Business Administration. They want to see good tax returns on a laundromat. So if your seller is lying, the SBA is not a very good method, but it's a great way to get into the laundromat business. And I will put this out there. I will hook you up with my favorite SBA lender if you do have a location that is doing no less than $200,000 per year net operating income over the past 3 years. I've got a company in Michigan. They will finance it most likely. You need a reasonable credit score, but they're great to work with. But if your deal doesn't meet those minimum qualifications, don't call me. It's not worth my time. But you want the easy introduction to a great lender, there you go. Get a hold of me. Next up is turning the current operator into the bank with a private note or private mortgage. My student Casey in Arkansas did this. He found an aging elderly laundromat owner and turned the laundromat into his retirement through a purchase money mortgage. It was a 6% rate with literally no money out of his pocket. He got them with zero money down. He had to do plenty of due diligence, which cost him some time and some maybe money in the background to hire an inspector. But he ended up getting 2 laundromats, no money. The outline mortgage was in the $350,000 range, and he'll be making payments to the current owner for the next 30 years. A great way, great system. He immediately implemented some great tactics and strategies in those laundromats, and now he's making a lot of money. Now, here's the deal. You're going to have to work these deals out too. You're going to have to call or talk to 100 laundromat owners before you're going to find more than a handful that are going to make sense with a purchase money mortgage, having them write you a note. Great strategy, no credit checks, no money down, potentially, but there's always going to be work. And if you've heard me say it once, I'll say it 100 times. You're never going to get a free lunch. None of this stuff is going to be super, super easy. You either bring in a lot of money or you bring in a lot of effort. It's doable, but it is a cautionary tale. Put in some work, guys. And then here's the last method, and I love it because I use it for real estate acquisitions, and you could totally use it for a laundromat because it works. And I've worked with a lot of people that have done this. One of my students has done it twice in the past year, and that's through master leasing, which might have an option agreement. Did you know in the United States, you can lease a business or a property and collect all of the rights and benefits of ownership? Meaning, if you have a laundromat, you can lease it off the current operator or the owner of the location and get the rights to collect all the money on it. It's absolutely awesome. Simon, he's one of my students. He's in Tennessee. He did this twice in the past 12 months, was able to lease both locations from the former owner who had kind of run them into the ground. They just weren't making any money. And as a part of that lease, he was able to take over bank loans, the former owner's credit score, the former owner's equipment, agreements, everything. He retained 100% of the rights as far as everybody's concerned with the acquisition of those assets. And if there's an option agreement, you can guarantee that the seller will collect a certain purchase price in the future as you take that business from being not profitable to making a lot of money. Me, myself, last year, I sold 2 properties for a combined sum of about $225,000. And I had a princely total of $250 down on each of the deals. 2 deals, $225 is the sale price. Leasing can give you the ability to acquire a business or a location with minimal money down using other people's information. Now, I'm going to say the same thing here that I said before. You're going to have to talk to a lot of locations to find out what opportunities are out there with master leasing, but it works. Once again, no free lunch. You're going to do the work. But if you could get a business acquired that will make you $1 million, shouldn't you be willing to call and talk to at least 100 people that have locations? I would. If I didn't have a business going on, I would absolutely do that. So those are strategies that I absolutely love in the laundromat business. They also work for car washes too. I wanted to leave you with those thoughts. There's 3 methods on how to acquire laundromats with little to no money down and strategies to get you into the game sooner rather than later. Let me know what you think about this video style. I wanted to give you content and do a money collection. I'm going to throw on the screen what we've done so far this year in 2024 at the laundromat. This is all gross revenue numbers, so that doesn't include expenses. We'll break down expenses in another video. We've been on a pretty good uptrend. I want to talk about the coin pusher situation and having to go to court for a felony. That was really interesting. But hey, you guys helped me catch a criminal in the background. Links will be in the description for Deal Machine as well as a form for my lender if you think you got yourselves a laundromat deal. Thank you guys so much for watching my content.